Welcome back to Ocala Talks on a Thursday. I just was reminded, a caller called the phone line here to the studio and asked if there was a place that they could submit story ideas. And of course there is. Tom at WOCA.com. If you have an idea or a story that you think needs to be talked about, send us your submission at Tom at WOCA.com and we'll look into it. And if it's a viable story option, it will be something that we definitely talk about right here on this show. So it's Tom at WOCA.com. I'd like to remind everybody that we will not be having a show Memorial Day. Memorial Day, we will be playing national syndicated broadcast, as I will be going to the Memorial Day remembrance at the Veterans Memorial Park. So keep that in mind. There will be no show, no live show Monday. Good morning. You're on Ocala Talks.
Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Hugh. How are you?
Oh, so, you know, with all the stuff going on. I got a question about this Texas terrible shooting down there. On the news now, they said he broke into the single classroom through a back door, locked it and blocked it, and he was in there for 40 minutes. I like to, you know, we know he killed 19 kids and 2 teachers, but how many students were in that locked room? Does anybody know?
I don't know the total number of that. I know that there's one 4th grader that was in the classroom that he hid under a table that had a tablecloth that went from table to floor, so he hid under there, so he wasn't seen. I don't know how many children actually escaped that room without facing the ultimate sacrifice. I don't know that, and I don't know that that's been released yet. But you know, all day today, as the day goes on, you'll find more and more out as they're starting to release more about the investigation and everything. But it's a sad situation. Not unlike Marjorie Stoneham down in South Florida, or not unlike Sandy Hook up in Connecticut, or not unlike Columbine out in Colorado. It was, it's never a good day when you have to report that children who we're supposed to, as adults, protect have to pay the sacrifice because of a maniac.
Right. Well, with all the firepower he had, and supposedly they said he was in that room, which was locked for 40 minutes, that's a lifetime. I mean, if there was 30 kids in that classroom, he could have killed all of them. He had the time to do it.
Certainly.
So, it's almost a miracle only 19 were killed, which is a terrible shame, but it's really interesting to see what the facts come out on that.
Probably the classroom, an elementary class, probably had no more than 25 kids in it, I would think. So the ones that probably didn't lose their lives were the ones that were hiding under that table. If there was more than just one 4th grader, it was one 4th grade class. It wasn't the whole school. It was one 4th grade class and their teachers.
Yeah, I bet you there was 20, like you say, 25, 30 kids in that classroom.
I would venture to say that's probably a number that. His mother's come out. His mother's come out and spoke now. And she said, she and I understand that mothers, it's your son and all, but she goes she goes, my son's not a monster, huh?
Well, she knew that her son had problems. He was doing all kinds of crazy things, like cutting his face.
Right. She said, I had uneasy feelings a lot of times, but he can be aggressive if he got really mad. But other than that, I didn't think anything real bad. Well, he cut his face and everything. He would,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Right. You said at times he made you feel uneasy as a mother. Yeah. What child makes their parents feel uneasy?
Right. It's a shame that she didn't try to seek help for him, because it could have avoided the whole situation. And I guess his father really had nothing to do with him. In fact, I guess he had been in prison for a while or something, and so that whole family was in very bad shape.
It says that 21 people, including 19 students, were killed in the attack. Law enforcement have said 2 teachers were killed, as well. Another 17 people were wounded, including 3 law enforcement officers.
Oh my gosh.
And
Geez, those are
Ramos's
worst parts for kids.
Ramos's grandmother, who's hospitalized in stable condition.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what a terrible thing, and I don't know what the solution to that is. Everybody's got an idea, but it's a lot of talking, and it's going to go away like everything else, and until the next thing happens, and there'll be some more talk and nothing happening.
The kids at his high school said they've reported that he was known as a fighter, and he would threaten fellow students. He exhibited increasingly disturbing behavior over the past 2 years, threatening at least one classmate and stalking others, and that he claimed to have cut scars into his own face.
Yeah, well, they say he was bullied a lot, and that he had a stuttering problem. They were making fun of him, so he probably was being mentally tortured for many years to get to the point where he's at.
There's always something that leads to the mental illness, and let's be clear, this is definitely mental illness, because you don't just go shoot up. You're not sane if you go do this kind of horrific shooting.
Yeah. Well, we got to educate the general public that if they see something that looks suspicious with somebody that ain't acting normal, they got to do something about it and get that person help.
That's what you got to do. If you see something, say something.
Exactly right.
Thanks for the call, Hugh.
Okay, Tom. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. It's a sad day, yet something like this is not going to go away real fast. And I just hope it doesn't happen again. But I put my money on it's going to be another situation.
Dollars to donuts. It's going to happen again.
Yeah. Okay, Tom. Take care.
Thank you. Good morning. You're on Ocala Talks.
Hey, Tom. It's Mark calling back concerning the shooting and Hugh's question. I don't know any more than anybody else that has access to the internet or social media or whatever you want to call it. But I think there was an adjoining classroom where children obviously heard the rounds going off and were able to escape out windows or something.
They went out they broke and went out windows in the adjacent classroom.
Also, these are just some observations that I've made that. I don't know what you would call these. These are kind of like upgraded. These last two shootings are upgrade shootings where they're wearing the bank robbers in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles police couldn't even take them down until they got a shot in on the guy's neck.
Which they took that from the movie Heat.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen that movie. I've heard of the movie. And then you have the both of them wearing the. Both of them shooting their way in, and then willing to shoot their way out. And both shooters at age 18 were going to kill themselves. I think the Buffalo kid had to be talked out of it. And then if you look at the shooting over on the coast, where the security guard who shot up the nightclub in Orlando and killed 39 people or whatever. He knew he was going to be red flagged. He was already on the do not fly,
right.
And he was on the terrorism watch list. So I thought, man, and he still. But the thing is, he was able to get buy the weapon, which even though I'm a liberal, I'm not jumping all over that. But there are red flags that can slow down purchases, whether it's a 72-hour bake-off, whatever you want to call it. But so I think that shooter on the coast and this last shooter at the grade school at Haas, was it, or Ross? Anyway, Tom, the Uvalde grade school.
Robb Elementary.
They knew. Yes, they knew. I think they knew the clock was ticking, and so therefore, the cuts in the face and the threats to their friends may just add up as anger and hostility. But maybe he knew he was profiled to some degree, and he knew he had to act quickly, because as soon as he got the guns, I mean, within a few days, he's acting with the weapon. So I'm wondering what is. I have a couple observations, and I'll hang up. But I wonder if he wasn't shooting someone else's weapon. I know it doesn't take a lot of talent to shoot somebody very close to you, And the other question is, from what I understand, and wonder if you didn't hear this as well, or other listeners, that he had a bolo on him, and the bolo wasn't for the shooting of the grandmother; it was a bolo for another murder, and I still haven't figured that out. And one final thing, Tom, I wonder if you and I wouldn't agree on this. The Department of Public Safety in Texas, the guys that wear the cowboy hats, I respect them all. They all have tough jobs, especially anywhere in the country. And Texas, right on the border, you've got a lot of issues. But the spokesman they have, I personally could look and tell that he was trying to like cover stuff. He seemed very nervous, and they were not letting out much information. And at the press conference, no questions were really able to even be offered. But one thing I noticed, and I've been writing on Facebook to people that I know that something wasn't adding up. But now they're saying, and Hugh addressed this, he was in that classroom for 35 or 40 minutes. And there were parents outside arguing with the cops to get in there and do something. So DPS didn't go in at first. And actually what happened was the Border Patrol rustled up their SWAT team for that area. And one of the SWAT members called Borchak, he didn't act with his team. He went on his own because he had either a child there or his friend's children there. And he's the one that went in and took the kid out. I think he had a fellow Borchak member with him, but their whole team didn't go. And I think that, I appreciate his, his bravery, but something's not right about the situation. And I think they're slow walking it. I'm not trying to jump all over.
He was not. When I'm looking at the AP report and the Reuters report, two different sources that say there was a bolo out for him, but it was not for murder. After he shot his grandmother, he left in her truck. After shooting his grandmother, the gunman fled in her truck. She called police to relay that she had been shot by her grandson and that he said he was going to kill more people. So she gave him a description of her truck and tag number, and they had located him and chasing him in pursuit of him when he crashed in the ditch near the school about 2 minutes away from his grandmother's home. And then the shooter approached the back door of the school, was confronted by a resource officer, but the subject was able to make it into the school. It's unclear whether the school officer and the gunman exchanged gunfire. And then he went into
Tom,
he went into the classroom.
If the bolo was issued for what you're describing, which I believe that it is, then I'd say for a woman in her 70s to be shot in the head and be able to get all that information out, she's still alive. So
she's in stable condition. She's in stable condition. She's not even critical condition anymore. She's in stable condition now.
Well, that's good news for all of us. But any case, it just so that explains the bolo, because it just seemed kind of odd that you can have a bolo with a warrant, but you were able to get a weapon. So that clears that up. But thank goodness that she. And he texted a girl on some type of communication source through an app called Yubo or something. I don't know what it's called. To a girl in Germany. Did you see that? And she's 15. She called the states. Yeah, she called the states and warned us. Anyway, a lot of questions. I just think that DPS has done a poor job of communicating. They don't have to get down to the nitpicky details, but there are just some things that I think the public is better off knowing than have to wonder about, because some things just still aren't adding up. I think that they were slow to respond, Tom, and I think it embarrasses the governor. And I know Texas is going through some concerns with their politics. Not that the Republicans will lose it, but they don't want any questions. And you can only hold your hand on that handle for so long before it blows up in your face.
Well, they said officers arrived on the scene of the shooting within 7 minutes of the gunshots first being fired. They entered the school, but they were fired upon at that time, hitting some officers. At that point, police officers began breaking windows around the school in an attempt to evacuate children, teachers, and staff. They were eventually able to force their way into the classroom and kill the shooter, who wore a tactical vest. But they were on the law enforcement response, except for the officers that were in pursuit. The law enforcement response with SWAT and everything was 6 minutes after the initial call came in. And now I don't know where the school is in location to where the SWAT, comes from or anything.
Right.
So I don't know, but there have been 17 other people injured, including law enforcement officers. So when they tried to enter the school, he had a position where he was firing back at them, and he was in body armor. So until they could get close enough, they couldn't do any damage to him, and he was just sitting there shooting. It was almost like he was at a carnival shooting ducks. It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why your position where you're at in a shootout is tremendously important. That's why people made criticisms of that cop down at the Broward shooting, but at his age, to tackle a 19-year-old with the same weapon, with a pistol, he's almost asking to be removed, and to get killed. And I'm not criticizing the time response, Tom. I'm criticizing the tackling of the subject response. I'm talking about getting rounds on the target from the point of attending the signal and progress to engaging the target. That's where we're at now. You got to get in close with the enemy, Tom. That's
he
what it's
reached
called.
out to a 15-year-old girl he met online from Germany. He said, "I just shot my grandma in the head, and I plan to shoot up a school." She goes, "I've obtained package of ammunition, and I intend to use the ammunition at the school." She goes, "For what?" He goes, "It's a surprise. Just wait for it. It'll be on the news." So, Monday, and this was a conversation Monday.
They said, Tom, that and you may have also heard this too, but I pay attention to small details, which are huge details to me, having worn civilian law enforcement uniform and a Marine uniform. But when they ran by his truck, there were the extra large magazines, and I don't care whether they're just regular size or extra large, that were falling on the ground. That guy bought, I think I've read, he bought 700 and some rounds. For that age to have two weapons of that caliber that shoot faster than hunting rifles, they're not automatic weapons, but they're not hunting rifles where they're not bolt action. So they are quicker.
Yeah, but you got some hunting. There are some hunting rifles that aren't bolt action too. So
certainly, Tom. But
the looks of the gun are what people don't like. And I'm sorry, but a pit bull looks menacing, but a collie puts stitches in my leg. So a gun that will kill you is a gun that will kill you. I don't care whether it looks like an AR-15 or whether it looks like a hunting rifle. They'll both kill you dead, and they both carry big magazines.
And actually, the most dangerous dog is a Dalmatian because they're schizophrenic.
They are schizophrenic.
They're the fire department's dog, and they're beautiful to look at. The RC. But my point is, they're just. I'm not one of those people fooled by the BS argument. I know that you weren't inferring myself. There are a lot of civilians, and there are a lot of civilians that do know weapons now. But I do support that. I think when the new school year comes, that we need to, even here in Marion County, we need to increase our presence and also their firepower, have access to a weapon, and then see the weapon becomes the vulnerability itself.
Well, here's my problem, and I got to go because I'm way over break. I got to go, but I'll tell you this is my last issue. Here's my deal.
Yeah.
We protect prisoners who break the law in custody at prisons better than we protect children on the campuses of schools. That's a problem to me.
Unless we fall in love with them and escape with them. But I hear you, Tom.
I understand. Right, thanks for the call.
All right, bye.
We got to take a break. We'll be right back. Well, we're up against it now. We can take a break. We'll be right back to then take another break after this timeout. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option. But then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summited Denali June the 7th. It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.